Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this Kendall Hunt webinar, using Texas funding to increase college retention, graduation rates, and career readiness. As you may know, Texas legislation provides money that can be used for initiatives to increase student success. In other words, it can be used to develop or improve first-year experience courses, and that's what we'll be exploring today. But before we launch into that, I just want to give a couple of housekeeping things. This webinar is being recorded. You'll receive access to that in the coming days, including if you have to hop off early, etc., etc. Chat and Q&A functions are where we'll be taking questions today. Feel free to put those in. If we have time during the presentation to address them, we will. Otherwise, you will also be provided with our presenters' email addresses, and so you can get in touch with them in the coming days. And just to introduce our speakers real quick before I turn it over to them, we've got lots of wonderful information to get through for you today. Dr. Marcia Freilich has been recognized as an outstanding first-year student advocate by the National Resource Center for the First Year Experience and Students in Transition. She has been recognized because of excellence in teaching, curriculum development, and leadership for the last 43 years. She's brought together research in psychology, education, neuroscience, health, and career development to provide students with strategies for college, career, and lifelong success. Her materials are being used by community colleges and universities nationwide and in Canada. And Dr. Seth Batiste has worked extensively with developmental education students, especially those who come from backgrounds where barriers are prevalent. He's been a part of numerous initiatives impacting education for first-year students, including Bill and Melinda Gates Completion by Design and Texas Completes. He's been in education for nearly 25 years now, starting his profession as an elementary bilingual teacher before working with low socioeconomic Latinx and Black students to prepare them for college. Well, the resumes are very impressive today, and we're very excited to hear from you both. So without further ado, I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to let you guys take it away.
It's great that so many people are attending today. Just wanted to let you know that resources and research that we'll be discussing today are at my website. I have a slide on this at the end of the presentation. We'll also email it to you. I'd like to just mention a few key ideas about research on comprehensive first-year experience courses and the benefit that they have for students. And this has been confirmed with various research projects, and those are summarized on my website. But here are some of the key ideas. Many of the research projects show a 27% reduction in the attrition between the first and second year of college for those taking a first-year experience course. That's been confirmed in national research and also at the college where I worked for many years, Cuyamaca College in the San Diego area. It also affects revenue from colleges. So there's a gain in revenue from reduced attrition, average of $417,000 per year. And of course, that depends on your enrollment. And one of the arguments that I use for our first-year experience course is showing that for every dollar invested in the program, it returned $4 to the college in terms of state funding. The research shows increased completion rates, graduation rates within 4 years, and increased grade point averages. Career planning is near and dear to my heart, and it is the strongest factor in degree completion. So any first-year experience course, it's important to include career planning. I'm going to hand it over to my esteemed colleague, Dr. Seth Batiste, who lives in Texas, to talk about Texas House Bill 8.
Greetings, everyone, from Houston, Texas. I would like to talk a little bit about House Bill 8, and I realize that not everyone perhaps on the call is from a community college, so we'll basically generalize some of these things because there's something in it, at least in the idea of funding for everyone. Anyone who has had or seen this type of funding for bills is keenly aware of the challenge in finding funding or even accessing it. So we have some suggestions perhaps for you and or your campus. Texas House Bill 8 was adopted in June 2023 with specific information about it, or it's specific to community college dual credit students for the most part. Students who are enrolled in these programs can essentially become or receive funding from this particular bill. You might be asking yourself, well, how does my campus, if I'm a community college, access this? Well, there are some ways to do that, but specifically, what I have found working at a community college for 14 years plus is that you can work with the grants department or the person on your campus that works with grants. If you have some questions about House Bill 8 that are specific, you can send me a note. I'm at Seth at baptisteconsulting.us. We'll have that a little bit later. But for the most part, the House bill rewards college students in terms of degrees. That's the goal of this particular bill. It's very valuable for those at the 2-year level. But then we'll talk a little bit about 2-year and 4-year institutions in a moment. As you can see, successful students who successful transferring to 4-year institutions is what the bill calls for. And it was, again, recently signed into law this year, just a few months ago. We'll move to, so House Bill 8, it also deals with workforce training, preparation for high demand careers, and so on and so forth. It's specific, as I mentioned, to dual credit students. However, there are some things in the bill that you might even see that kind of extend itself to future funding, or that might suggest future funding in other ways for this particular goal that this bill has in mind for students who are in these dual credit programs. It's essentially around to create or facilitate students who are persisting in high demand careers. So why do we have the Texas Education Agency on our screen today? Of course, it's a K-12 entity. However, we decided to use this example because they have lots of funding that are college pathways related funding. This also gives some credits to what grants can do for the students on your campus if you are a community college. Remember, when you're applying for these grants, the deadlines are they're pretty standard. And if you miss one deadline, you certainly can apply for these grants the following year. And so the stipulation is that you're looking at career pathways for many of these education grants. And they're more than just the career pathways or college and career pathways, but this is just one example that hopefully gives you some ideas on what you can do on your campus or individually in searching for grants that are specific to you as a faculty member and your needs. So we're just giving some examples that happen to be related to House Bill 8. So what do I do if it's me? I'm on a campus and I'm at the grant, I want access to funding. I'm not at a community college. Well, you would simply approach your grants office or your department. Some campuses are small where you have a person doing the grants, but more specifically, Marsha and I, we as professors, we often look for grants that we can write as certainly in our profession. So you would basically, there's some homework here, but I don't think it's a lot because it's really just a conversation or even a Google search away from maybe finding the grant that supports your mission, your goal, where you are.
At this point, we have a few minutes for questions about Texas funding. If it gets too long, we'll just refer you to Seth's email address. There's a slide coming up with his email address. But in the chat window, or if anyone would like to participate, if you have specific questions about Texas funding, we have a few minutes that we could address some of your questions.
I would like to remind, as the questions are being generated, I would like to remind everyone of the purpose of us this segment of our webinar today. It's really to stimulate, and inspire you to think about ways you can approach funding on your campus. So we just gave some examples. There's specific to House Bill 8, but for instance, here in Texas, there are lots of other avenues for funding for resources for teachers. Most people do know about their free resources, but there are resources that may cost. They're not available for free. We're actually talking about those resources that may not be available, maybe for free or a reduced cost for you, but we're trying to give you some thought on where you can probably find this additional funding in the state of Texas.
Megan, do we have questions in the chat window?
Not at the moment, it doesn't look like.
Okay.
Oh, wait. Oh,
one
we
of
do.
the-
Perfect.
Okay.
If you're outside of Texas and also not on a campus, but have services that would help students with college and career readiness. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
If you are outside of Texas.
If
that's a
you
good
are
question.
outside of Texas, as I am, then again, there is a grants office in every college, no matter what state you're in. And it's, I think, important for us to think about that as an option. I know there's an equity question now in these first year experience courses. We want students to take the courses because it helps them to succeed, but we don't want them to pay for the materials. And so if you're concerned about that, then this could be one way of helping your students to achieve equity by having some grant funding. I'm working with a college in San Diego, Southwestern Community College, and they applied for a grant that paid for the textbooks for all their first year experience students. So here's an idea that's worth exploring and doesn't take a whole lot of effort if you utilize those grant people. Are there any other questions in the chat window, Megan? If not, we'll continue on.
It doesn't look like it at the moment, but if anyone else has any questions, feel free to enter them, and we'll try to address those at the end of the webinar.
Okay, we'll continue on then. I know that Seth has a really busy schedule, and so he'll be stepping out momentarily, but we'll continue on with talking about what is a comprehensive first year experience course and how can you customize it for your college. So this is Dr. Seth Baptiste email address, seth@baptisteconsulting.us. And we will follow up this webinar with an email that has the link to my website with research and also with both of our email addresses. So specifically questions about Texas funding, contact Dr. Seth Baptiste. So what are the contents of a comprehensive first year experience course? As Megan mentioned, I've been working in the field of education for many years. I work with professional development. I consult on developing first year experience courses, and they range from a seminar, an orientation, a 1-unit class to a 3-unit class. And most of the research has been done on what we call a comprehensive first year experience course. So what does that mean? Seth and I have published a textbook. It's called College and Career Success, and it has curriculum for a comprehensive first year experience course. What's unique about Kendall Hunt, and they are very good at this, is they can customize the materials for your college. So you could give us a list of your student learning outcomes, and we can develop to match them. We can suggest student learning outcomes. Interesting things I found out when preparing for this is that Texas has a learning frameworks course, and it doesn't have student learning outcomes. And so if you're looking at education today, we need to have student learning outcomes, and the Texas funding is based on student learning outcomes. And so in order to qualify for funding, it means it's an outcomes-based approach. The materials that we have developed are research-based. I know there's a movement in education today to use OER material. Some of these materials are very good, some are not, and not all of them are based on research. So Seth and I have worked very hard to update the materials continually and look at the latest research in psychology, education, and neuroscience particularly, and how the brain learns. And both of us are practical type people. We've worked with students at different levels of education. So we provide practical examples, and we pride ourselves in using clear and concise language. One of the key parts of a comprehensive career readiness program is the career component. So helping students make an informed choice of a college major by assessing their personal strengths and matching them to the job market. And this includes career outlook and earnings. Now, I know in Texas, as well as in many other states, the states are encouraging career readiness so that the citizens of the state are able to participate in the economy by having the skills necessary to obtain good jobs. So I think this is a key idea, and many of the first-year experience courses that I have seen don't have this career readiness component. I did some research early on at my college, and I looked at students who dropped out the first semester and students who were successful the first semester. And the key question that I asked them is, what is your college major? If a student couldn't answer that question, they were in that group of students who dropped out. And not only do they drop out, but they drop out early. So in designing a first-year experience course, that career assessment, career planning needs to be early on in a first-year experience course. Another thing that I think is really important and that Seth and I use in working with our students is using positive psychology, helping to inspire students, helping to motivate students. What are your strengths and interests and values, and how can we build on that? We think it's important to help students think positively about themselves and their future. And a topic that Seth and I have been presenting on recently in conferences is clarifying what happiness means and work toward attaining happiness in life. And that includes career satisfaction as well. We also want to help students assume responsibility for their own success. So we can do that by helping them with positive thinking, understanding the concept of locus of control, who's in control, the growth mindset. And I think a key idea from growth mindset is that the more you practice, the better you get at something. It's not a matter of innate intelligence, but motivation and practice can help you to attain excellence and future mindedness. So going a little more in depth in these topics to give you an idea of the range of subjects that topics that we cover in a comprehensive course, we begin with motivation. And that's a key component of a comprehensive course. So variety of ways we can motivate students, helping them understand the value of a college education. It's worth about $1 million to get your college degree as compared to a student with a high school degree. So helping students understand mindset. One of my favorite topics is grit, being able to persist in the face of hardships, positive thinking, finding interest. College and education should be exciting and fun and meaningful. How to maintain focus, how to use intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation, locus of control, and persistence. So overview of the topics of motivation. How do we help students with career planning? First of all, we help them explore their personality and their major, and we have a built-in assessment that has outcomes that are, or results that are comparable to Myers-Briggs. Some of you may be familiar with introvert, extrovert, sensing, intuitive, thinking, feeling, judging, perceptive. We help students to assess that in a positive way and understand what those terms mean. And then we help students connect their personal strengths through Indeed.com to actual job openings. So if you're looking at career outlook, then we help students become aware at an early stage in their education, what kind of jobs are out there? How much do they pay? How do they match your own personal strengths? Career planning is super important, and we often work in conjunction with career services at colleges to complement the services that they provide. but we help students understand career trends, the concept of career outlook, so that when students are choosing a major, they have an understanding of what careers are available and how much do they pay. We work in cooperation with counseling or advising services to help students plan their education. So once they have learned about their personal strengths, we make it a requirement to go to the counseling or advising office and make an educational plan. Then we help them with some basic employment skills like resume and cover letter and some basics on interviewing. We all know that managing your time and your money is something important. So helping students understand their lifetime goals, how to use schedules, some time management tricks, dealing with time bandits. What are the things that steal your time? Social media is a time bandit, for example. Managing your money, how to do a budget, how to apply for financial aid, how to apply for scholarships. And then I like to read books on neuroscience and learning and psychology of learning to find out how does the brain learn? How can we help students with learning? How can we make it an effective process? So understanding what is short-term and long-term memory, how to minimize forgetting, some practical memory techniques like mnemonics, optimizing your brain power. And then we know that stress interferes with learning. So stress, relaxation, and being able to relax while learning. And then we can apply some principles of brain science to improve study skills. Some of the OR materials that I've seen still have learning style in there, and the current research doesn't support the concept of learning style. And if anyone would like to explore that more, I'd be glad to provide you the research on that. And some of it was done right here in San Diego. So the newest idea on learning is that we use all our senses to learn, including visual, audio, tactile, and kinesthetic, not just the preferred ones as the old learning style theory proposed, and that our best sense is visual. And so if we can teach students to visualize material, it's easier to learn. And then applying memory strategies to reading, so that when students read, it doesn't go in one ear and out the other, using SQ4R. And then we know many of our students are learning online, so tips for online learners. And here's another important topic as we help students enter well-paying STEM careers, how to be successful in math. I think this is a standard part of a comprehensive first-year experience course, how to take notes, just the basics of writing and speaking. So note-taking systems, power writing, effective public speaking, test taking, helping students to learn how to prepare for tests, effective review, distribute the practice, dealing with test anxiety, dealing with math anxiety, some test taking strategies. Communication and relationships. Not every course that I've seen has this, but more and more I see this topic added to first-year experience courses. It's important for personal success, also success on the job. So what is your communication style based on your personality type? The language of responsibility, some barriers to effective communication, how to deal with conflict, friendships, roommates, and relationships. So again, this is an optional topic, but an important one. Thinking critically and creatively, I think this is an important topic as we try to encourage students to live in a democratic society. What are some fallacies in reasoning? Briefly, what is the scientific method? That's been brought into question recently. What are cognitive biases? How to become a critical thinker, and then how to think creatively. And lastly, thinking positively about the future, optimism, hope, future-mindedness. Some research done on grade point averages. The most important factor in grade point averages is hope for the future, and optimism that you can do it. Belief in yourself, the self-fulfilling prophecy, positive self-talk. visualizing your success, successful beliefs and secrets to happiness. So again, the resources and the research are listed at my website, College Success One, and we will email this link to you. And on my website, click on this tab that says Conferences. You can also find lots of information about the textbooks we have if you'd like to take a look. And then if you click on the conference tab, the webinar for today, the PowerPoint is there. Information about Texas Senate Bill 8, the Texas Education Agency. And then here's a nice summary of research on the first year seminar and its impact on retention, persistence, and academic achievement. So it has a really nice summary of all the research. So if you're interested in course design, you can contact me, Dr. Marcia Freilich. Here's my email address. Again, we will email this to you. If you're interested in talking about Texas funding, you can contact Dr. Seth Baptiste, and here's his email address. And we have about 5 minutes if we have some questions or discussion. And I'm always interested in following up with people individually. So if you'd like to send me an email, I'd be happy to communicate with you. If you'd like me to meet with faculty, I'm always available on Zoom. I can meet with your faculty. So we look forward to working with you to help our students be successful and to find some funding to provide materials for your students.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Marcia. And if anyone has any questions at this time, feel free to enter those in either the chat or the Q&A functions. One question that we do have right now is you briefly touched on OER a little bit. We've been talking about this Texas funding as a resource for first year experience courses. And so it could be said, well, isn't OER kind of another way to get to the same outcome? So I was wondering if you could expound a little bit more on your thoughts for that.
As I mentioned before, I think OERs, I work with colleges across the country. More and more colleges are using OER, and some of it is good. We're not sure that all of it has to do with or that's related to the current research. So sometimes outdated material is being used with students. The other issue is OER is a lot of work for faculty. You have to find that material, you have to read it and evaluate it, you have to compare it to current research, you have to design the program. But Seth and I have a program that has been used since 1978. We've been using the program at my college, and I've been working with faculty across the country since 2001. So we have experience in developing student learning outcomes, designing programs. We have packages that can be customized. We have activities that engage students in learning. We have classroom handouts, PowerPoint, test bank. And so with minimal effort, faculty can put together an excellent program based on experience in the field and based on the most current research in psychology and neuroscience. So that is another option. I think the biggest argument for OER is cost. But if you have a grant that covers the cost, I think it might be the best of both worlds. You have a quality program based on research that's easy for faculty to pick up and use, and it doesn't cost students anything if you can provide funding for textbooks. And we not only have textbooks, but we have interactive online programs also. So those would compare favorably to OER with the assurance that, it's based on research, based on experience, it's a quality program, can save time for your faculty. And then your faculty can spend time on interacting with students, and that's what they do best. And as a longtime college and high school teacher, I can tell you that that is my greatest satisfaction in life, and the interactions with students. So focus the faculty time on interacting with the students, and then you have a package of material that's time-tested, research-based. So that's my argument on OER versus a research-based program based on many years of experience. As
Absolutely.
I'm saying that, does anybody have questions, additional questions?
One question that we do have is, how do you, since you've been teaching these courses for so long, what do you think is the ideal way to help students choose a major? I think sometimes this can be one of the most important, but one of the trickiest areas. How do you figure out how to help someone know what they want to do for the rest of their life?
I worked many years teaching FYE courses and also as a career advisor, and then helped my children. Now I'm helping my grandchildren with career decisions, but I think it's based on personal strengths. So we help students understand their personal strengths based on personality type. So that's one avenue, but that's not the only one. I like the idea of multiple intelligences. When I first started school, I know they gave IQ tests and it put people in boxes, and it, I think, was a self-fulfilling prophecy and not a good one in some cases. But the idea of multiple intelligences is any skill that's valuable to society. And so I look at multiple intelligences as a way of looking at personal strengths in a different way, and maybe helping students build their self-esteem. And we connect multiple intelligences to the job market through our online program. So they understand, again, the career outlook and some actual jobs that are open. If you live in Texas, what are some jobs open in your city? And then I think values. What values do you have as a person? And what are your vocational interests? How do you like to learn best? All those things go together to help students make a career decision. Sometimes faculty think, oh, we should just leave that to career services. They're the experts. But it's such an important topic that we can include it in our first year experience courses, and we can complement what faculty are doing in those career services areas. So we have material that works really well. Faculty don't have to design it. They don't have to be experts in careers in order to help students move along the path to self-understanding and understanding the job market. So it's all embedded in the materials, and then faculty just have to encourage students to participate and give them some positive rewards for doing so.
Excellent. Another question, and I think this can be like one of the most rewarding experiences when you pull it off really well, but at the same time, I think it can also be one of the most difficult. What is your favorite way to motivate students?
Okay. I like to, my personal favorite is grit, because it's a positive way of thinking. It's talking about persistence. So all of us have difficulties in life. We all have challenges. We know our students have lots of challenges, lots of barriers, but the concept of grit helps students to understand that they can overcome the barriers, and that one of the ways to overcoming the barriers is to practice, to involve yourself in education and practice, and then anything is possible. I've worked at a community college most of my career. And if you were to ask a community college students, why are you going to college? They would say, to earn a better living for myself and my family. So I think helping students to understand the benefit of going to college in terms of income for the future over your lifetime, if you finish an associate degree, if you finish a bachelor's degree, if you finish a master's degree, what are the average earnings? So that's number one. That's the first section in chapter 1 in my textbook, is that financial piece. And then, of course, there are lots of ideas from psychology that we can implement. Those are all part of chapter 1. And I'd be glad actually to share that chapter with people if you'd like. So when we send the email, if you'd want to see chapter 1, I can send you a link to that chapter, and you can see some of my favorite ideas for motivating students to be successful.
That'd be amazing. Wonderful. Well, do we have any other questions today? Looks like that just about wraps it up. Well, thank you everyone so much for your time today. It was a pleasure to be able to chat through what we're all passionate about, and that is student success and really setting up kind of tomorrow's professionals for just this is success in the best way that we possibly can. Thank you so much, Marcia, for all of the wonderful information that you presented. Like I said, this presentation is being recorded, and we will be providing that recording to you within the coming week or so, and we'll also be providing you with some additional resources from Marcia and Seth to help you investigate some of these other topics. You'll also be provided with their contact information so that you can reach out with further questions if you choose to do so.
Thanks everybody for attending today. I know your time is valuable. Hopefully you've learned something new, or at least increased motivation to seek out some additional funding to help your students. And I enjoy working with faculty across the country, so I would enjoy hearing from you. Any questions that you might have.
Wonderful. Thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Marcia, and everyone have a wonderful day.